Good morning. So this is Benson Kibiwat, registration number TED 44/18. So I'm doing this short video concerning the summaries of the videos that I've watched, the provided videos on the work brief. Yeah. So on some of the factors that I watched, there were three items, that is the industrial three items. The first one is the factory layout planning. Number two, the manufacturing technologies, and number three, the industrial health and safety. So according to me, these factors are very important as far as industries are concerned, because one thing is, in every industry there is a lot of items and components that are need to be done. So without a proper layout or without a proper planning, it will lead to death, injuries, and other factors in the industry. Yeah. So what I can summarize all this, I can call it the core system of productions. Yeah. So let me start with the first one, which is the family, not the family, sorry, the factory layout planning. So on the factory layout planning, this encompasses the structure, that is the general appearance of the industry, as far as the buildings, as far as the people, as far as the machines, as far as the design is concerned. So from that term, we have two items that we should define. The first one is planning, and number two is the layout. So when it comes to planning, I can say planning is the general visualization of the appearance of a place, or rather how the designer or the planner intend to do the design of a place. Then when it comes to the layout, this is the building itself. How is the building designed? How is the machine, where the machine are put, designed, and etc. Yeah. So in detail, when it comes to factory layout planning, we'll have to look at different factors. So number one, when we are doing the planning, we must consider the accessibility, the space available, the cost, the intended purpose of the machine, and other factors. So when I talk about the cost, for example, without proper planning, the cost of production can be raised. In these terms, what I mean in this is that, let's take a scenario. Let's say we are doing a production of steel. The steel production requires a lot of capital. The steel production, in that case, for example, it requires them to be transported to the place, and that is for loading. So without planning or without easy access to the place that is required to be transported to, there is a lot of cost that will be incurred. In this case, those are some of the factors or the brief factors that comes about with the factory layout planning. Yeah. So generally it is important because it reduces the cost, increase the output, also it reduces the cases of accidents and etc. Yeah. So that is all about the factory layout planning. So let's come on now to the industrial health and safety. So when we talk about the industrial health and safety, this is generally the how the workers, how the machines, and how the resource people are designed to stay in a workplace. So in general, it is about the safety of our workplace. For example, in Kenya, we usually have the body responsible in acts, that is development of workplace acts and safety. Without those, most it is a legal compliance. So that means if your place or your site doesn't meet the good threshold of the safetyness of the workers, government intend to come and block the site from continuing. Yeah. So it is an important factor that most people doesn't put it into practice. So let's say it in detail. What does it mean? What is health and safety? So health is the stateness of our body, or how our body functions. And then safety, this is the freeness from any risk and uncertainty. Yeah, it's not only about the risk alone, we can talk about also the certainties. Yeah. So when it comes to industrial health and safety, these are some of the factors that must be considered regarding what kind of industry or what kind of production is taking place. uh, let's see some examples and some scenarios. Let's say, for example, the steel production, as I've used in the factory planning node. In the steel production, the system is usually controlled by computer. That's a CAD, computer aided designs. Yeah, so not CAD, it's CAM, computer aided manufacturing. So when you get to know the dimensions, those are some of the figures that are only fed on the computer. Now the system itself will produce the steel of the required density, of the required weight, of the required material that's required. That's it in terms of tensile and torsions. Yeah, so when it comes to steel, there's a lot of risk that is involved. Number one, for example, steel, remember, it's a very heavy metal. Number two, the length. One, let's say D12 has a length of 12 meters. Yeah, so the 12 meters requires a lot of safety when handling, when producing, and etc. So without good health and safety acts, you're exposing people. These people are families, and you expose them to a lot of risk and uncertainties. Yeah. So that is all about the industrial health and safety. Number four, now let's come to a very important factor in production, that is manufacturing technology. So when it comes to manufacturing technologies, we usually have different factors, or rather we usually have a lot of technologies that are done during manufacturing. Number one, let's say, for example, is numerical control. These are technology that only controls the numerical figures that are inserted into it. Number two, there is SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a software that is used to produce the 3D items of machines, 3D items of bolts, the 3D items of engines. These are required in printing. The only thing that you do is you print the item that is produced. Yeah, so generally manufacturing technology is very important, since number one, it brings about the accuracy. Number two, it's not labor intensive, because workers tend to work a lot or tend to engage a lot with machines. So in that case, there is no much we can say it's man to error. No, it doesn't exist on manufacturing technologies. But there are some factors, of course, there's some repercussion that comes with everything that is handled by human being. Number one is poor feeding of figures. You can feed a figure, maybe it was supposed to be 12, you fed 11.5. Automatically the machine will print 11.5 diameter metal, of which that is kind of unacceptable, and that is, it is based on human errors. But with regard of the three items that we've discussed, that is the factory layout planning, number two, industrial health and safety, and number four, manufacturing technologies. When all three these factors are put in place, the level of production is high, the output is high, the accuracy is high. So it's an important factor that should always be considered in the industry, in the workplace. Like, let's avoid ignorance or arrogance, because these things lead to death. So that's all about today's presentation on this video. Thank you.